Good afternoon,
ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I was just trying to throw Spencer off there.
You did. You did indeed.
Did I?
I panicked. It was like when your doctor walks in, when you're sitting at the doctor's office and they're waiting for a knock and it catches you so off guard.
Yeah, that's kind of like my personal reflection time to really question if I really do need to see the doctor. And I also oftentimes will like measure myself, inspect the room for hidden cameras, things like that, just general fuckery, as they say.
Sounds about right.
But yeah.
This is an intro for an interview we have with Jordan. See, I did it again. Jordan.
No, Jordan
Agajanian. See, that was solid.
I'm going to clip that.
Yeah, the last name always throws me off, but Jordan is currently one of the talent managers for C4 Energy, our favorite energy drink here.
It is.
At the pod.
Truly one of the best products that I've ever had.
We're not Monster guys. We're not Red Bull guys. We're C4 guys. So that's why we brought on Jordan. She also has a huge history in racing with her family, with which we clarified, not her grandfather. Her cousin is JC Agajanian, who is a
legendary.
Pioneer.
What's that?
Pioneer,
a legendary promoter of the sport. Super influential in what was it? Televising the Indy 500.
Televising
in
the 500.
or something like that.
Even big safety implements. He also did some massive tire changes in terms of inflating the tires a little better.
Big tire changes.
Yeah.
Is he changing it on a monster truck? Or?
Yeah, big ones.
But yeah, no, Jordan
was great.
What's that?
Was great.
Oh, it was fantastic. And she's got like insider connections working with top drivers like Lindsey Brewer.
Yep.
And
Jesse Love,
Jagger Jones.
Yeah,
she's seen it, done it all. So
before we head to her, she just might be a regular segment on the pod.
We're gonna have to get her on.
We were just yip yapping, so
her insight is just too good,
and we're throwing some diversity on the pod.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we can kind of get that going. If you guys like it, as always, please like us, share us. Specifically on Spotify and Apple Music. We appreciate you guys hammering those likes.
And follow our socials. Talk to us on our socials. That's how we figure out what you guys want to know. So
we love hearing you talk. Fuel and Fumes. Oh, wow.
We haven't called. Oh man,
that was the original name that we had.
Was name V1, but Fuel and Fumes was a little bit closer because we didn't. I don't know why we didn't pick Flames. Fumes is better,
though. It made sense because fuel is in cars and fumes is what we inhale and why we made this podcast.
Exactly.
We're the brightest two motorheads you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And on that note, before we keep talking, here is Jordan Agajanian. On this week's episode, we have a very special guest for you guys. Our guest this week has found herself in the circle of autosports, racing for her entire life, with her grandfather being inducted into the International Motorsports Hall of Fame in 2009. She is currently entrenched in the world of motorsports as a talent manager for C4 Energy and works closely with many motorsports figures. Welcome to the Fuel and Fumes podcast, Mrs. Jordan Agajanian. How are we doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing well.
Did I get the last name good or no?
No, you got it good. You said Jordan for the first name. It's Jordan, but
Jordan, yeah.
We'll let it slide.
Also, it's a common mistake. Everybody always thinks it's my grandpa, but it's actually my cousins. Were inducted into the Hall of Fame. My dad's cousins. Yeah, I know. Everybody always thinks it's my grandpa, but just wanted to clear that up in case there's confusion.
So is that Wikipedia's fault or is that just a general misconception?
People always think that it is because the last name is so specific. They just assume it's my grandpa, but it's common misconception. But I would maybe half Wikipedia, half just how it is. But I always am like, no, it's my cousins. It's not my grandpa. But
it was funny here. I'm glad you said that because literally for my note, it was funny. I was gonna text you before and be like, is it your grandpa to clarify? But every single one now I have it as just grandfather. So I will not say grandfather. I will sub it with cousin.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. It's the Armenian families are so big, but it's it's my dad's second cousin. They were close growing up, and then it's a whole confusing thing. But yeah, it's the same family. It's the same family.
Okay.
But yeah, I still grew up.
Yes, I still grew up around racing. I still went to all the races that my family promoted during Turkey Night, like midget races, sprint cars races growing up. That's kind of how I was introduced to it. Obviously watched the Indy 500 every year. cousins involved with the number 98 car, now on number 26. And so I found myself in motorsports kind of independent of that. Like that definitely sparked my interest, but that had no, like, finding myself in the position I'm in at now had nothing to do, like no family ties, like no strings were pulled to get there. It's kind of an organic thing that just worked out the way it did. So it's cool.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot with like some of the other drivers we've talked to is like, there's a family passion for it, but it's not necessarily like their parents pushing them or like any nepotism or anything like that. Like it's everyone kind of finds their own way and gets bit by the bug, as we say, and then
no, totally.
finds their own way.
It's definitely it's definitely like a generational thing for sure. Like anytime I see I meet somebody who's like into motorsports, I'm like, where are you into IndyCar? If you are, it's most likely like your dad was in IndyCar or your grandpa was in IndyCar or like your family's somehow involved in IndyCar. Like I feel like F1 has all these new fans, and like I love F1. It's amazing. It's like, top tier, amazing sport, but it's like there are all these new fans with Drive to Survive, which is amazing. I wish IndyCar could do something like that, but and I know they tried, but it just was not nearly as successful. But I feel like with IndyCar, it's like when you see another IndyCar fan, it's like we both have something. You know what I mean? It's like it's very like generational. There's no like new IndyCar fans really. You know what I mean?
It's if you follow the IndyCar meme page, you know that person can hang, because I know it. The moment you go on and look at it,
Dude, who is that guy?
I don't know. We still don't know. But he was at St. Pete's this year.
Yeah, he was. He was also at Laguna because I was there, and he was, or maybe she. I don't know. But they were posting. We don't know. They were posting up at the Corkscrew, and I was there with Lindsay and my boyfriend, and like we all, we're up at the top of the Corkscrew, and I'm looking at the posts like in real time. I'm like, he's around here. Like, where is he? I could not find him. I was like, who is this guy?
So, do you know that or no?
What?
So basically, there's a guy who runs the IndyCar memes post.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. Nobody knows who it is. It's still.
It kind of just like one day just popped up, and it was like, oh, this is what, like, all IndyCar fans were like, this is what we've been missing. Like a place that just kind of like, all like
the culture, like
everything like everybody's thinking like about like all the teams and like all the drivers, like this guy just like had the balls to like put it all onto a meme page, and just like honestly sometimes he's pretty brutal. Like,
he's bad. I remember, I don't know who it was I was talking to when I was in St. Pete's that we had dinner. It was somebody in the marketing space, and they were like, if we find out who has it, like their hard card's getting revoked. Yeah.
No
so
way.
It was like, it was a kind of like a big conversation of like, because there was some stuff, like you said, like that was kind of like balls on the line stuff. So
dude,
I think,
also, can we talk about St. Pete this year, when that's where Spencer and that's where we met, right?
Yeah, that's where we met. Yeah.
That's where we met through our friend Darren. And I don't know what dinner that must have been at, but I'm assuming I was there because we went to the same Italian restaurant 3 nights in a row.
It was 3 nights in a row. I remember when Lindsay had enough. And Lindsay had enough because Darren's like, where are we going? And same place. And Lindsay's like, we're going to go somewhere else.
She looked at me, she goes, can we get sushi? I was like, yeah, we could get sushi. And then we found some sushi place. But yeah, I was like, Darren, I've had it. Well, the first night we went there, I wanted the pizza. And then they didn't have pizza. They were out of pizza.
Didn't have the pizza.
Doesn't make sense. So then we got the same bada bing pasta like 3 nights in a row.
Oh my gosh.
Cook it
and the bada bing pasta was ridiculous. Chris didn't even.
Dude, it wasn't even Chris that good. No, he got it for the show.
It was more of a show.
Yeah, it's like fire. I'm like, oh my God, okay.
Oh, I remember it was a fire because I remember you backed up because you were like, I'm gonna get my eyebrows set on fire.
Dude, yeah, he as I was walking up to the table, he like did the fire, and I was like, can we wait like 3 seconds? It was crazy.
Yeah,
can you relax with that? Like,
that was entertaining for sure. Yeah, that's where we first met. Yeah, St. Pete's.
Yeah, that was so
a great
fun.
track. Yeah, that was a good race. It was cool too because I kind of got to be able to get out of the Canadian weather because that was the March race. Yeah, so
and then I saw you
awesome
again.
track.
Did you go to another? Was the next race you were at Indy? Because I saw you in May briefly.
Yeah, the last race that was the last race that I saw you at was the 500. I was gonna say that was later in my post, but the 500's huge, of course, in your family history. How many 500s have you gone to?
So I've actually never been to an Indy 500, which is I haven't.
Whoa.
My
You haven't gone
family,
to a
yeah,
500, eh?
I personally haven't. My dad and my brothers have been going like forever. They went growing up. I know they went in 2011 when Dan Weldon won. They were there 2016 when Rossi won. Um, and then we all went to, as a family, we all went to qualifying this year. I couldn't go this year to the 500 because I had to be in Charlotte for an ARCA race with one of my other clients. And so I had to miss actual race weekend, but we were all there for qualifying. But yeah, I've actually never been to a 500.
Wow. I'm surprised
I
with all
know.
the history of it. I'm surprised you've never been
I
to a
know.
500.
I know. That's what everybody, they don't believe me. Like they're like, even like Darren, when I was telling Darren, he's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I don't know. I never." There were a couple times growing up I was supposed to go, but yeah, no, I actually was at IMS for the first time. I've been to so many races, but especially working with Lindsay. But yeah, this year was my first year at IMS. Like I'd never been there before, so being
Your
there
first
and
year
getting
was
to
this year
see
going to
all of them.
IMS.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
That's
Wow. I'm
crazy.
surprised.
I know. That's what everybody says. I know. It is.
And do you
It
have any
actually was surprising. Like I was even like, "How's this my first time here? Like this is so weird."
Yeah. I was gonna say, do you have any plans on going in the future, or is it just
When it
Oh,
happens, it
for
happens.
sure.
yeah?
No, I mean, I don't have like a specific. I would like to get to the 500 this year. My dad he always kind of like puts the trip together. Like
Mm-hmm.
he will talk to my cousins and they'll like put a big trip together. And so I'm thinking maybe this year we'll do it. I don't know. But there's a lot of us. Like I have three brothers, so when we go, we want to all be there at the same time. But it's hard because like one's in Nashville, one's in North Carolina, one's in Texas, and so to get us all in the same place at the same time is like
Yeah.
a lot. But yeah, I mean, I'll definitely be there this year for when Lindsay does the when she runs IMS the Grand Prix. So
Yeah.
I'll be there again. Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
So,
So there's kind
yeah.
of a few kind of different tracks we can take. I kind of wanted to get into not your grandfather, but your cousin's side of the story
Yeah.
with it. So kind of in 1930s, so with over like 400, there was about 45 deaths in motorsports at that time, specifically in motorcycle racing. So your grandfather actually never, or cousin, pardon me, never actually became a race car driver. However,
That's right.
did basically everything else in motorsports to promote
Mhm.
racing, building cars, and discovering drivers. So this specific point when I was going through is actually very similar to, I think, your career in racing. Although you're not in the car
Mhm.
yourself, you find yourself along many popular drivers on the promotional side of racing. So do you feel
Mhm.
as if you've kind of followed in this footstep in your family history? Do you think that kind of modeled your person you are today in terms of your influence and marketing side of motorsports specifically?
Yeah, I definitely think so because I mean it's really interesting to see, right? I always kind of joke around like so I have a cousin and he started this creative agency race service and so his grandpa is JC. So that's my cousin Jacob and then his grandpa is JC and so he kind of also a massively successful amazing creative agency. They work with F1, they work with Indycar drivers, they work with NASCAR. They are like if you haven't seen them, pretty much everybody in motorsports knows what race service is. They're amazing. And so um, kind of seeing him go that route and then with this like kind of marketing background, like, all this like motorsports marketing. And then I kind of found myself, I always knew I wanted to work in racing. I saw people like Jacob doing what they were doing, people in my family doing what they were doing. And I was like, that's so cool. I want to do that. But I didn't know how. Um, when I was in college, I majored in marketing, studied sports marketing, but there was no like motorsports marketing like
Mhm.
track. Obviously, it's like super niche, like super specific. So I remember when I was graduating college, and I was like, obviously, always had that like family influence where I was like, I want to do something in motorsports. Like it runs in my blood. Like it's family history. I'm not only is it like family history, but I personally actually really like it. If it was something I didn't actually like and wasn't actually passionate about, it wouldn't have been something I followed. Um, but yeah, tried to like apply for jobs. It was like super difficult. And so I just kind of gave up on that for a little bit, but obviously still followed racing closely, like went to like a lot of races. Like a lot of my friends, drive or used to drive. And so getting to talk to them and see them at races was, always a good time. But I always wanted to be a part of it. And I like never felt like I was. And then this opportunity with C4 came up, and when they interviewed, it kind of just was like the most
Match made in heaven.
perfect storm. Yeah, honestly. They said, they had just signed Lindsay, I think a week before they interviewed me. And they asked if I knew anything about like IndyCar racing. And I was like, how,
Yes, I do.
actually,
Fun
yeah,
fact.
I do. And they're like, oh, we just signed this girl, Lindsay Brewer. And I didn't know Lindsay personally. We had a lot of mutual friends. Again, just I had a lot of friends that drove. She obviously has a lot of friends that drive as well. And so we definitely were like in kind of the same circle-ish. So I like looked her up on Instagram, and I was like, oh, we have a ton of mutual followers. And, they asked if I could help out on that account once I, got the job at C4. And I think quickly, it was apparent how much I knew about it. Lindsay and I also just like clicked really well, just having like both that background in racing and like having a lot of mutual friends. And so kind of got to own that account. That's like now like my main account at work. And again, I have a couple smaller drivers as well. It was kind of like I opened my eyes one day and I was like, whoa, I'm where I've always wanted to be. Like it wasn't really like, I wasn't like, okay, now I'm going to take this job with C4 and I'm chasing my dream of working in motorsports. It was kind of like I just did what was in front of me. And all of a sudden, like it kind of hit me at St. Pete. Like I was like, whoa, like I'm here working in motorsports marketing, like talent management, very similar to what like my cousins, I called my cousin JC Uncle JC, so we could just like refer to him as my uncle. So seeing like what, I'm like, wow, I'm like doing what Uncle JC did. Like this is so I'm like managing talent, promoting talent. Obviously in a little bit of a different sense, I'm working through a brand, but like very similar. And it was just kind of this moment where I was like, my eyes opened and I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is so freaking, this is what I've always wanted. It was so cool. So
How did
it
that job come
definitely,
about?
the C4 job.
Yeah.
So I actually had a friend that worked at C4. I had recently left a job that I was working at in Texas, some like retail job. Previous, I had worked at Ticketmaster, a couple other jobs doing marketing, and kind of didn't know what I wanted to do. So took a break, worked at this job in Texas where I was living at the time. And I was just in the market and I was like, dude, I don't know, girl I've been friends with forever. Her name is Margaret. She's the best. And I'm like, dude, I'm looking for a job. I don't know what to do. Like, I want to do marketing. I love motorsports. Like, she's like, well, you should interview it at my company. Like, I think, we're kind of looking for somebody like, to do kind of event management, talent management, kind of like a little bit of everything in like the influencer space. And I was like, I don't know, like I've never done influencer management. Like, I don't know if I would be good at that. And she's like, just interview, like just see. And so she set me up. And the job started kind of as a, like catch-all, like helping out with some influencer marketing, helping out with some event management, flying here, managing talent, doing a lot of reporting. Like it was kind of a little bit of everything. And I think that was why it worked out so well, because I was willing to do anything. And they were like, they needed somebody who would kind of do everything. And then honestly, my boss at the time, she was managing the Lindsay relationship. She went out on maternity leave. And they knew that I knew racing really well. So they asked me, hey, while Katie's out, would you mind just being on top of all the Lindsay stuff? And then when Katie comes back, she'll pick it back up. And of course, I'm like, no problem. And so she was gone for like 3 or 4 months. It was like quite a while. And in that 3 or 4 months, we had, like we were prepping for Lindsay's next season. We had just finished. She did like half a season in 2022 in USF Pro. And then she went up in 2023 to USF Pro 2000. And so we were working behind the scenes, getting everything ready for the 2023 season. And I just had worked, was working so closely with her. And by the time like my boss came back, it was St. Pete. We had started a content series called Shifting Gears that just came out. So we were following her around all her races, shooting her with our videographer. We were getting her set up for appearances. We had designed the car. We designed the fire suit, designed the helmet. And she was like, you know what? I think you got this. Like, why don't you, like, I'm going to let you run with this. And so that was the job. And then I got moved to the talent team. So it was kind of like, it started as this catch-all. And then it was honestly just kind of like based off, I kind of just molded the job. It just kind of like molded to me and I molded to it. And it kind of just fused and became this talent management role. And, I have some other influencers I manage, but Lindsay is, like my biggest account, I guess you could call her my biggest client. It's weird to call her that because I feel like she's my friend. So But yeah, that's the biggest like project I would say I'm working on. So, obviously right now things are a little bit different because it's like off season, but once it's like March, it's like just go, go, go. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say the job definitely just like kind of just like molded and evolved into like what it is now. It
Wow.
kind of just like became kind of like shaped to me. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it sounds like you just kind of like worked yourself into that like promotion and got yourself that
I kind
space.
of just did it. I was like, yeah, like I was like, well, and I think because there are things that I know so much about racing, like I'm like, well, we need to design, the livery and there needs to be sponsors on, we can have 70% of the car, but there are certain things, like there's a support sponsor and they want to be visible on this side. And there's, the fire suit. We don't just have one. We need to have a couple, especially because there's is white. So it's going to get dirty. So do we want to do a show car? Like there's so many things I feel like in racing that people who don't know the sport like super well and didn't grow up with it, like don't consider because it's complicated. Like it's so much more than like signing like a like an NFL player or like a baseball player or something. Like there's so many different things that's so unique to racing that is not really like replicated in any other sport. So it's like you kind of need somebody who knows the ins and outs. And C4 has been so amazing. They've like given me so many resources and so much support and they're super open-minded too, right? Like they're like, Jordan, we don't know how this works. Like what's the racing, like what's the basis for this? Like what's like status quo for this in motorsports? And I'll explain to them.
You got
and they're
it.
like, yeah. And they're like, great, go do your thing. And they're like so helpful. And so they make the partnership with Lindsay amazing. And the whole thing's been so much fun. And it's a lot of work, don't get me wrong, because it's like every race I'm at, we have guests that we're entertaining, and you kind of need somebody at the track that knows what they're doing to show, the guests around, introduce them to Lindsay, facilitate the meet and greet, pit lane walk, like whatever. So it's a lot of work, but it's, when you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. So it's so much fun. I know. I wish that like I could just do racing full time. Like obviously Lindsay's just one of my like clients, and then I have all the like other talent, which I love working with as well. It's just different, It's like when I'm doing the stuff with Lindsay, it's like just don't even feel like I'm working. It's like I'm in my own world.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Racing, like you said, if you get it, you get it. And especially like if you're already understanding the motorsports aspect of it, like it's an easy breeze if you get it, like you said.
Yeah, totally.
And I guess on the topic of C4 athletes, I mean, obviously you manage Lindsay Brewer, but we couldn't really find a publicized list of all the other C4 athletes. So do you know them off the top of your head? We were able to come up with Jesse Love, who's the youngest NASCAR champion ever. Jagger Jones.
Yeah, he's on there as well.
Running an Indy next. But are there any others?
So we, in terms of motorsports, it's still a market that we're definitely like evolving in. So we obviously have Lindsay, Jesse Love, who's been just also a dream to work with. He's the youngest, champion in NASCAR history. That relationship actually came about. He's a close family friend of mine. And so when I joined C4, I just pitched him and the team loved him. And so we brought him on. Jagger was, we were in conversations with him and he joined our creator program, which was a TikTok program that we had going on. It was like a 6-month creator program. And so, we're kind of putting out feelers into the motorsport space. It's actually funny. Like we've seen since our partnership with, those few drivers, we've gotten quite a few of like inbound messages from other drivers requesting sponsorships. And they all get directed towards me, obviously. And people are like, do you know who this person is? It's like some F1 driver. I'm like, yeah, I know who that is. I'm like, yes, can I respond?
Please.
Please. It's definitely, we're still developing our motorsport strategy right now. We're super big and super focused on NFL, NIL, and like boxing. We just had like a fight with Devin Haney, and so we're super big into those right now. And like with Lindsay, it's like we're dipping our toes in motorsports and we're seeing like where it goes. We don't have a strategy set, but that doesn't mean we don't have one that we want to do. So we're kind of just like waiting to see what happens. So Yeah.
But obviously the marketing is working because you're getting all these inbound messages and like people that want to join the team, right? So something's working for you. So
yeah,
it's
no,
pretty cool to
definitely.
hear.
I
And
know every time
C4
we get like
absolutely
a
has
no, go ahead.
C4 definitely has the absolute best livery for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Oh,
In her
I love
series,
it.
no doubt.
It's so good. It sticks out, but you know what? You recognized it. Like
You
you
know.
like
Yeah,
noticed
especially when
it,
a team's running like 2 or 3 cars, there's 2 or 3 all red cars, all black cars,
All
whatever
black.
it is, right?
Yeah.
Like you see Lindsay and she's just cruising along through traffic and everything.
Very unique. Yeah, she wanted the I remember when we were talking about what color to do the livery, she was like, I really want something pink. Can we do something pink? And I was like, because last year or in 2022, gosh, I can't believe that's already like so long ago. We did it was our Freedom Ice flavor. And so it was like red and blue and kind of like a gradient and purple. And it was very like USA, which like she was great and she ran it for I think it was only like 2 or 3 races. So then when the next season came around, she's like, I want pink. Like, can we do pink? And I was like, yes, we can.
We can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And next year we have some ideas for, we have something in the works now. So I'm excited to hopefully get that polished up in the next few weeks and hopefully out there. So
Nice.
I was curious, specifically you were saying in terms of just new racers coming into it. Is there one specifically that you would like, or are you not allowed to say that?
For C4?
For C4, like, is there someone reaching out or someone in your mind who are like, this would be a perfect candidate to throw out as a C4 sponsor?
I mean, I would love to sign like Charles Leclerc, but that, like a no-brainer. But no, there's not. I haven't really sat down and thought about that, actually. That's I feel really comfortable where we're at, obviously, with Lindsay and Jesse right now, that I haven't really thought of, who would be a good fit to be our next one. I don't know. I haven't thought about that. I have to think about it. I mean, Charles Leclerc. I'll just go with Charles
Leclerc for sure. I guess
Charles
there's a
Leclerc.
lot of things too that you have going on too. I guess it's not the first thing is like, what can I throw more on my plate? Because I guess, of course, like you said, there's plenty of stuff going on to begin with. So you don't want to just toss on more racers when you're still trying to, master or perfect something right now. So
totally, yeah. But it's just, I mean, but getting to work with Lindsay and be at the track with her, I've gotten to meet so many up and coming drivers. Like it's really, because everybody knows the Indycar, everybody knows Scott Dixon, everybody knows Newgarden, everybody all those guys. But when it's this whole other world that I've now been exposed to that is so cool. Like I've gotten to know. I know Mac was on the podcast last week. I've gotten to know Mac Clark really well. Lindsay's teammates when she was with Exclusive Autosport. Joey Brienza. There's a couple Avery Towns. she has all these teammates that I've gotten to know well as well. And it's just so cool to see kind of this next generation like up and coming, and to think that like. Pato Award was in that position not too long ago. It's cool to kind of see that. And I kind of have this newfound like appreciation for everything these like, I don't want to call them kids because they're getting in the car and, driving 150 miles an hour, but these, young professional athletes are giving up and like everything that they are sacrificing to be able to do this. Like I know Avery Towns he goes to the college that I went to, and I can't imagine being in college and being a race car driver at the same time. Like where we went to school, it's very difficult. Like I don't know how he's doing it. And so it's cool to see this kind of like younger generation. And I kind of like, my wheels definitely get turning. Like I'm like, who would be good? And like,
Yeah, the balancing of plates is kind of crazy too. When we explain to racing to, again, like you said, people who don't understand racing or not familiar with the sport, it's very different from any other sport. And like you said, balancing it is a crazy act. Exactly. We had Mac on and he was chit chatting about, how he's trying to balance school with it. And it's impressive to be, even what he's doing too is incredible, just to study like specific engineering stuff and just uber intelligent things that we could never do. Never mind getting in a race car and mentally preparing for that.
Dude, there's no way. There's no way. I don't know how they do it. Like, I mean, I can barely like focus on one thing at a time. I don't know how Mac and like all of them are going to school, studying engineering and then getting in the car every weekend and traveling and like it's crazy.
And like having the time management there has got to be absolutely unbelievable because like I'm in
it's
school
gotta
now
be,
and like yeah, it's like even just like managing the podcast and like so like that stuff, it's getting to me. So like risking your life
yeah.
every weekend, like that's
While still
There's no
diving
way.
your face into books is
yeah,
crazy.
exactly.
Yeah. I just think about, like, when I was in college and, like, how much time I spent studying and how little time I had for anything else. Like, I just don't understand how they're doing it. It blows my but
Yeah.
I was also so, like, immature in college. Like, you could never put me behind a wheel of, like, a race car. Like, that would not go well.
Yeah, we were saying that about Mac too. Like he is so well media trained. It is crazy. Even the
Oh, yeah.
Weldon boys, the Weldon
Oh,
boys
yeah.
at the age of like, 12 and 14 that are just like absolute professionals at that age is crazy. It's
Crazy.
it's incredible.
Yeah. I see that with, like, Jesse and Lindsay too. I mean, especially Jesse being when we signed him, he had just turned 18, and I'm like, he is, like, so well media trained, and, like,
Mhm.
it's crazy. I had a hard time even believing, I asked him, I was like, "Wait, how old are you?" And he was like, "I turn 18 next month." I'm like, "I thought you were, like, 25." Like, I'm like, it's these kids, like, it's crazy. But that's such a big component of it too, I feel like, because something that we have nowadays that's like, they didn't have, because it's funny because saw on like the IndyCar like Instagram, they posted like shots from like the 2013 500 or whatever. And I just think about how like back then, all I know is this world where there's social media and where Instagram and TikTok play a huge piece of, you know, gaining and securing sponsorships. Where back in 2013, I'm like, what there was no Instagram with 3 million followers. There was no TikTok posts that went viral with 70 million views. Like there was no like so the marketability of the drivers was very different. Like it was a very different playing field. So like securing sponsorships just looked a lot different. I don't know what it looked like. I wasn't in marketing back then. But and I think that's a huge part of it because a lot of the times when I'm at the track and, parents of like these younger drivers find out, I'm with C4, they see how successful Lindsay is. And they ask me quite often, what do you look for as a brand? Because they are like trying to find, sponsors for their kids, right? Because they want them to be able to race and no parent wants to pay out of pocket, $1 million every year. So they're like, what do you look for in an athlete for sponsorship and how can we obviously Lindsay's been super successful and my biggest thing is like yes um being good and placing well is very important and being competitive and being very dedicated like that's like and I feel like Lindsay has the best of both worlds in this right like she's so dedicated she's so consistent but there's also this like social media component where it's like do not underestimate the power of those socials like I will see like I always am telling parents I'm like focus on building it may be silly to like post TikToks, but like you need to focus on building that following because that's a huge piece of marketability like for your kids. Like that's something that they can offer sponsors that they're gonna want to see because that's like tangible, right? Like this
Mhm.
post reached 3 million people. That's like a tangible thing. And so it's just interesting. Like I just feel like parents always ask me like you know, what can what can my kid do to like get a sponsorship? And I'm always like it's this, part of it is being media trained and part of it is being, really like good in front of the camera to be able to, and that's where I feel like Mac is so good, like to be able to connect with sponsors and like to be able to have that like personality. And part of it is also being consistent and just giving it your all. It's like you kind of have to have the whole package. You have to be on your toes nowadays. Like you can't
Yeah.
be slacking in any department.
No, I think that was something that we kind of want to do in terms of like it's selling your personality. Like I think as a driver you can be
Yeah,
ultra successful, but you have to be able to market yourself, whether that's the skills you have or just in general the personality you have. Like it sells and it does well. I think that's something we want to do with the
Yeah.
podcast. Was I think a lot of people talk
totally.
about Formula One, but some people like it. I we kind of want like a bar talk type of F1 because I listen to a lot of podcasts and it's
Yeah,
not dull, but like it's very like to the point, and we wanted something that you could
no,
just
totally.
listen to about
Mhm.
Formula One and cars. Like we love cars. Everyone loves
Yeah,
watching them go fast. So if you can
yeah,
bring some personality and comedy to it, like that's what you got to do, especially with marketing yourself as a racer. You can be a good
Yeah.
racer, but you got to sell yourself.
yeah,
You gotta be good
yeah,
on the track and off the track. Do as
Yeah.
many laps on
totally.
both sides. And like, I mean, I
Yeah.
forget who said that, but I thought it was brilliant. I'm
It
like,
was you.
yeah,
No,
yeah, I'm
totally.
taking all
It
the
was
credit
you.
for
It
it.
was you.
Yeah.
It's so funny, like, to always see, like, because some of them have, like, some of these drivers have, like, these massive, like, Patos, like, fan base. Like,
Yeah.
they're
Massive,
just
huge.
crazy. Like, they're honestly, they scare me. Like, Canapino's fan base scares me too.
Yes.
Like, when you got in that fight or, like, whatever. I don't even know what happened with ILOP, but, like, that was scary. Like, I was like,
That
I don't
Oh
know
was
yeah,
what
that was ugly.
the fans are ruthless. I think that'll be something, honestly, that'll be interesting to look at this year with Roman's fans, because I think the clash of
Yeah.
both those fans,
Yeah.
and especially Roman, I'm not saying is a liability. He's a fantastic driver, but
Right.
we do see that he does like to involve himself at times. So I think
Mhm.
that'll be an interesting thing to see for IndyCar to have to address this year.
For
And I said
sure.
that in a
Yeah.
later podcast we recorded, that there's going to be some interesting internal fights specifically between fan bases this year to really give them something to go at.
For
Yeah.
sure. Well,
And,
yeah,
like,
because you have
the
two,
same way like
like
Verstappen tears drivers apart, like that we see, breaks down their confidence. Like I'm thinking there's going to be like a Canapino's fans element of things.
For sure.
there's gonna be
But-
like it's just because like Grosjean and Canapino both like they have arguably like two of the like strongest fan bases like in
Yeah.
IndyCar. Like sans Pato, like Pato's kind of like in his own world, like they are so dead
Mhm.
like loyal. But like I feel like with them being teammates, like Grosjean and Canapino, like it's just gonna like they're gonna go at it. The
Fireworks.
fans, like
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna be more than like the actual drivers. Like the drivers will probably be like maybe getting a couple tips, but like the fans, like they're the scary ones.
Fans
I
Yeah.
don't
are,
want to be near them.
especially in IndyCar fans are crazy.
Yeah,
Like
no.
F1 fans are crazy,
Yeah.
but like IndyCar fans are a different level. I don't know where they find
It's
this
funny.
passion. I wish I could have it.
Well, it's funny because so I took my boyfriend to his first IndyCar race ever, and he was blown away. I took him to Laguna Seca, and he was like,
What a great track
"This
too.
is amazing!" He had the time of
Fantastic
his
track.
life. And he was like, and I think what's so different about IndyCar and F1 is because with F1, right, like there is, unless you're somebody like Darren, like there's a lot of red tape. Like you can't get anywhere as a fan.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like you got to know somebody who knows. Like you gotta. It's like
It's the in. You have to
very
be in the in crowd for sure.
yes. Versus like IndyCar, like when I took my boyfriend there, he was like, I'm like walking around with the drivers. Like they're next, we had like credentials to get into the like paddock and pits, and he was like, but that wasn't that hard to get. You know what I mean? You can also buy paddock passes. Like
Mhm.
Mhm.
you can
Even for the
walk
500.
around. Yes, and you can just walk
Mhm.
around like with the drivers. And he's like, that level of access, it's almost like it's something that you don't see anymore. And I feel like that's almost like why fans are so passionate, is because they feel this like I almost feel like they feel like they know the drivers, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, and I feel like that's why IndyCar fans are so different, because they feel this like personal connection, because it's like IndyCar is just accessible, like in every aspect. Like you can go to a race and like walk up to a driver and like talk to them. You know what I mean? Like as long as
Mhm.
they're like not busy, but it's just very different. I feel like that's why they're so much more like not more passionate, but like I feel like they almost take things
Die
like
hard.
really personal. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
It goes a
yeah.
lot deeper than a Formula One fan where like, they're obsessing over like TikToks or like interviews or Drive to Survive and like where you
Right.
get that level of personality, but like you can actually like go and meet the drivers. And it's funny, like you say, like the story that you have is very similar to my first IndyCar race. I went
This year in Toronto. Yeah.
and I
Oh,
had the
yeah.
same exact reaction. Like I was walking, Spencer and I were actually walking, and Grosjean was like right beside me. I'm like,
Yeah.
my jaw was on
The
the
heck?
floor, and Spencer's like,
I don't
like,
think McGregor
What?
said
Yeah.
much. I think he just kind of like pointed, and I could tell what he was
Yeah.
thinking, but
And
he
you're
wasn't
like,
saying
yeah,
a word.
yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
That's the guy. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's a good
I
point
just
that you
feel
bring
like-
up.
yeah.
No, go
I
ahead.
was
Go
gonna say, I
ahead.
just feel like we know, like, I feel like, yeah, I know Charles Leclerc drives for Ferrari. I know, like, the basic facts about him, but like, I know he's French or like whatever I don't even know what he is. He's
Monegasque?
French? I don't know.
Monegasque. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but I feel like I know what like Callum Ilott eats for breakfast and like
Yeah.
what his favorite tea is. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like IndyCar is like this whole other level. Like I don't know Pato, but I feel like I know Pato. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Just
I
from
know
like
exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying.
like I'm like I
Yeah.
just feel like I like know like his favorite color. Like I feel like it's just so much more like personal. And I feel like they all like with that being said, like that's why I feel like the IndyCar memes page almost like hits so hard. It's because like it's almost like we're
Feels
all
like family.
friends and like
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
they really like I really need to find out who that is. I really want to know.
Let's go on
That
the
is
hunt.
so
I would
funny.
I would
Let's
love
go
to
on the
I would love
hunt.
to find out. Like we made the argument for a long time. It has to be someone on the in crowd, but I'm like,
That's what.
they're getting too ballsy though. They're getting too ballsy
They
taking
wouldn't do that
pictures.
if they were on the inside. Yeah.
They wouldn't do
Mm-mm.
it. Once
Flying a
St.
little-
Pete's came
Yeah.
around and they were really throwing their chips in the front. I knew it was definitely a fan.
There's
for
no
sure.
way. Because
No,
at first they
there's
were
no
like,
way.
oh, it might be somebody from the IndyCar marketing department, like, you know, and I'm like, that would be amazing. Like, how innovative, like
Yeah.
how, but, and I thought maybe it was for a minute, but yeah, like you said, once St. Pete came around, I was like, I don't think that they
No,
would do
there's a culprit in between us. There's an imposter.
It
for
would
sure.
be brilliant if they kind of leaned into it and
Brilliant.
actually
Brilliant.
because
Yeah.
IndyCar's marketing team, like nothing against them, but like I find like the F1 has a lot more of like that back like off
Yes,
track stuff going.
I just feel like, and this is what I see a lot at like, because C4 is like our social media team is amazing.
Oh yeah,
like, they
they're
are
great. They're
on
fantastic.
it. They are on it, and like they are some of. I love everybody I work with, but they are just such a hoot. Like they are so fun. And I see how quickly they work. Like something came out a couple weeks ago, and we had the opportunity to either ignore it or like make it a moment. And like we made it a moment, and it went viral. And like it was something to do with like a pre-workout, and I don't remember the details, but we acted on it really fast. And I just feel like IndyCar, if they could just, they're just a little bit too slow. Yeah, they're just like they're a couple that lag is a little too laggy. You know, like they need to be on top of it a little bit more because I see F1 is like obviously they're super on top of it. Yeah.
Well, I think
think there's so much potential for IndyCar marketing, and I'm like,
I know, and
right
I think the old way of IndyCar I think is slowly getting weeded out in terms of like the marketing, the whole bit.
Yeah.
But I think that's a slow burn, and I think you're kind of seeing a bit more of it. It's progressing, but it's frustrating for us. Like you can go back and watch the F1 race, but you go back and try to watch the IndyCar race. It's on YouTube. It's not good. Like it's mediocre at best.
No, 100%. And it's funny because we were watching Drive to Survive, and I'm watching it. You know, I obviously have the background of knowing IndyCar, and like 90% of like an IndyCar race is like actually quite boring. Like, and you know, it's not, but there are the moments
unless you're on an oval.
Unless you're on oval. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Unless you're on oval. And I'm watching this Drive to Survive, and like, I'm like, wow, they make all these races look so exciting. And I'm like, and they are exciting in those moments, but I'm like, in reality, there's like a pass, and then there's like 10 laps. And then there's another pass, and then there's 10 laps, and then there's another pass. You know, so it's like I just feel like they do. Drive to Survive is so well done, and I can see why it got so many fans. Versus like I watched this IndyCar, the 100 Days to Indy thing they did, and the whole first 20 minutes of episode 1 is Joseph Newgarden and his baby.
And I'm like, with his shirt off too. Don't forget. Yeah,
in his backyard, which he definitely
know a lot about this.
He did because I want to watch it.
No, he did.
And it was just the Penske crew. I just watched. Yeah.
Yes, it was just the Penske crew, and you know, I was watching it, and I was like, this. They had the opportunity to do something like Drive to Survive and make it so exciting and create this like drama, rivalry, you know, friendly fire, etc. And it just was, you know, it just unfortunately, I didn't. You know, it didn't catch my attention the way Drive to Survive did. And I think that like the way that they did the Drive to Survive was so eloquent and so well done and so eye-catching that it makes sense that they got, you know, however many millions of new fans they did. I just wish IndyCar could do something like that because IndyCars are the fastest cars in the world. Like they are so exciting to watch. Like I wish no car could go faster than an IndyCar on you know, during the 500. So I just wish that like they could capture that and like,
well, I mean,
put it out there.
Even in a tangible sense, like IndyCar they tried to make like a video game that F1 is like really just dominated. And then I think
with the video game, they
I believe they pulled the plug on it. There was a licensing agreement, or there was like it was some back end issue with like the developers.
It was,
and they ended up just pulling the plug, and it's like I think that's catastrophic for them. Like
100%.
Like in the day and age of sim racing and everything like that, like it's just such a missed opportunity. And like you can download like IndyCar like cars on like Assetto Corsa and things like that, but to actually get their slice of the pie of like, you know, putting an actual game in there and making money off of it, like
Totally.
drop the ball.
I think on your point specifically, Jordan, I think that what they could do is they could really make how they have like on Netflix the specials for like an hour and a half, how they have like documentaries and stuff. You could make a full movie about a 500. Pick 100%. A 500. You could make
a 500, any 500.
Pick a 500. Do like the pre-laps of it getting into it. Like you have, what's it called? Carb day. Like there's so many different aspects of the 500, the week leading up to it, the qualifying beforehand, like it's an entire week. You could make it into a movie and be like, wow, this is awesome. Like it's the largest single sporting event every year.
And whenever I tell people that, when I tell people that, they're like, really? And I'm like, like even at work, I'm like, there were, XYZ, however many like we did some, I wasn't there, but we had an event at Iowa. Hy-Vee is a big partner of ours. And so since it was the Hy-Vee IndyCar weekend.
Awesome event too.
Which was apparently epic. I don't feel like they marketed it well. But our team did, sampled cans there. And apparently they sampled like some crazy number of cans throughout the weekend. And like our upper management was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, yeah, that's how many people go to those things. Like, but I feel like people just don't know that because they don't like, IndyCar doesn't talk about it. Like they need to like put that out there so people can see, like, because once people see other people doing something,
they want to be part of it.
I started watching Drive to Survive because I saw, to be honest, I saw other people watching it and everybody was talking about Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz and everything. And I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about because I've never been an F1 fan. I've just always been IndyCar. So finally, about a month ago, I started watching Drive to Survive. Because everybody else was watching and talking about it, and I felt left out. And I was like, if we can create this hype.
Yeah.
What's Spencer?
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say if like IndyCar can recreate that, like people just want to feel a part of. Like if they can create 100%. That sense of like everybody's talking about XYZ, what is this IndyCar thing? A largest single sporting event, like blah 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 blah. Like people are gonna want to be a part of it and just be drawn to it.
You know who did actually a decent coverage of it, which is strange, is Barstool. Barstool did a really good coverage of it. Yeah, this year. Yeah, they did. Because remember the 500 clips they were coming out with? Like guys just drinking beer off bellies. Barstool was like, this is like the snake pit is ridiculous. Like
it is ridiculous.
Going on. It's ridiculous. But no, you could do a full movie about the 500 in every aspect, and it would be riveting, and people would get behind it and be like, what is this? Like, I want to go.
Yeah, that's so true. They need to do more with the snake pit, I think, because that's a huge. Like I was talking to somebody who lives in Indy, some guy I went to high school with, and I was like, "Oh, how was the race?" Like this was a couple of years back, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't even watch the race. I was in the snake pit the whole time." I was like, "What?" I was like, "Is the snake pit that big of a thing?" And he's like, "Oh, it's like people go just for that. Like they don't even care about the race." I'm like, "This is crazy." Like, somebody needs to document this.
Imagine Netflix like fully hyped up the 500, the snake pit, carb day, qualifying, like the whole bit. Like you would get people absolutely pumped to see this race.
Dude,
Indy wouldn't know it.
Yes. No. I want to. I'm interested now in that Barstool bit. I never saw that. I'm gonna look that up.
I'll send you it on Instagram afterwards.
Can you?
Gregor laughed so hard at that. Like he sent me the clip because, of course, I was there this year. He sent me the clip, and I was like, I need to find this guy. It is hilarious. It's hilarious. It's like it's not Minuteman, but they basically go around and do interviews with like they'll go to like protests or they'll go to like random events that like you'll kind of get interesting people to respond to a set of questions that really complicates things. It's hilarious. I'll send it to you. You'll love it. But like I said, Barstool, what a weird one. They love sports. They knew it's a big event, so they went there and they put someone in there not knowing what was going to happen, and it worked out perfectly.
I bet. Yeah. Well, I even remember like a couple of years ago, Dave Portnoy went to the 500, or he was there. I think he was there on Carb Day. I don't think he stayed for the 500, but anyway, he posted about it and it got like a ton of attention. And oh no, he threw a party. He threw a party. Do you remember? Yeah.
I don't remember. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I remember he did that because I tried to go. He went. I didn't try to go. I just wanted to see if I would, because you had to like, it was like during COVID, kind of like it was like 2021. And I was supposed to go to the 500. That was one of the years I was supposed to go to the 500, and at last minute got canceled.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, that was the quiet 500. Was that the one that had like...
No, the 500 didn't get canceled. I canceled my trip. Sorry, I should have been more clear. But No, that wasn't the Quiet 500. It was the next year after that. It was weird though. Like my family
Yeah.
went and you had to be vaccinated to get into the pits. Like it was like there were still a lot of restrictions. It
Yeah.
was like
Oh,
half
wow.
capacity, I think, or something like that. But yeah, I remember he posted something. He's like, to get on the list, email this number, and I emailed, and then they wanted me to call, and I got scared, so I didn't. But anyway, yeah, he threw this like massive and it was a big deal, and everybody was talking about it. And I think this probably helped. I mean, it was not a good thing, but it helped. It was during COVID, and it was like this giant party, like huge party.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like a media attention around it
Around it.
when they weren't supposed to be having it, like whatever. But yeah, I remember when he did that, he was like, I remember he was posting and he was like, F it, I'm doing an Indy 500 party. And like, he just did this giant party, and there was like hundreds of thousands of, no, I don't know how many people were there. A ton
A
of
lot
people
of
there.
people.
It was like packed. Because when Dave Portnoy says he's doing something, it's cool automatically. And so everybody wants to do it. Like,
Yeah, I love
I wish he would do that again. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
him too. I wish he would do
Yeah,
that
that'd be
again.
sweet. Go to a barstool party for
Oh,
Indy
dude.
500.
I don't understand why he gets a lot of flack, but dude, he's been one of my like almost like
Dude, I
favorite
love him.
people to watch, and like
Yeah.
because he started basically Barstool by doing magazines, correct? If I remember that correctly, he did magazines.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Yeah, I think he did.
It was like
started with like all those
newspapers.
yeah, and he I remember it was like all those neon parties that they would do
Yeah.
at colleges like back in the
Mhm.
day, and it was like it started the company like literally like in his basement.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember it started as like yeah, like they would go around like college campuses and do like parties, and now it's like obviously massive. But I think that they just need more like it makes me so sad because like obviously IndyCar is like such a big part of my family history, and like personally I just love it so much, and it makes me so sad to see it like not flourishing the way that I know it could, you know? Like I'm like, this is such a shame. Like what do we have to do to make this like
Well, I think they have to like specifically kind of reach the audience of the youth. I think that's something that they miss constantly. Like I think they kind of
Yeah.
stick specifically with the older generation. And I think
Mhm.
that if you were to just specifically market to young kids, like specifically like you said, TikTok and developing the socials that way, like I think that's a boat they really miss every single year. I think they're kind of catching up
Totally.
to it. I don't think they're fully there yet, but yeah, like
No.
you said,
Yeah.
like I think the racing they could make it behind the scenes and make it very cool. Like I thought it was very cool what they did last year with Marcus and Callum, and they would do like kind of like their bit
Yeah.
interviews. Those two are naturally funny, and then
Yes.
people are like, we want more of this content, and then they nixed it. I'm just
And
like,
they nix it. I think also like I feel like they see a lot of what F1's doing and try to recreate it. I think that what IndyCar needs to do is just like the Callum and Marcus thing, like find what's already existing that's awesome and like build off that. Don't try to like create like don't just be like, oh well F1's doing that, so let's do that.
don't try to
And then it
force it.
doesn't
duplicate.
work. Yeah, like
Yeah.
find like something good like I'm trying to think of like something like you know, like you were talking about, or like the Bus Bros thing, like that's a thing that they do. Maybe build
Yeah.
off that. I don't know. I haven't watched Bus Bros at all. I don't know if
It's
that's like a good thing.
it's okay, but again, they kind of force it a
Yeah.
little bit. Like find something
They
that
do?
like,
Okay. I don't know anything about that. I don't watch
find
that.
something that genuinely like is funny and like natural, like that comes off the rip. That's just funny in general.
Right.
That surrounds the idea of the sport that works well.
Dive into the
Yeah.
nuance of IndyCar versus F1, like because IndyCar is inherently such a different sport than
Mhm.
F1.
So different.
You know, like
So
I
different.
mean, between tires and strategies and fuel and everything like that, there's so many differences, but not a lot of people like understand it. So that's a big barrier to entry.
Well,
No,
I think
I mean, I literally had to have my little brother who like is just knows everything about everything. I was like, Charlie, like, what is the difference between like I obviously know a lot about IndyCar, but I'm like, why are the F1 cars different? And he's like explaining it to me like in detail. And I'm like, I've been an IndyCar fan for how long? I wouldn't even say I'm a fan. I would just say like, you know, I've been into IndyCar for however long, and I didn't even know that. Like, I don't, but I also don't know a lot about F1. So it's like roles reversed. F1 people don't know anything about IndyCar. They just see that the cars look the same and they're like, oh, it's the same thing. But like, they're totally different.
I think that's something too. Like we always make the argument, like I specifically, I don't know if I speak for McGregor, but I like IndyCar more. I think the racing's just more exciting. But like you said,
Yeah.
if you specifically showed people what the differences were and explained it, because people are so quick to shut down. I'm like, you like Formula One, watch IndyCar. They're like, no, I'm not into it. I'm like, do you understand like what it is, or are you just going to immediately shut down? If you showed someone, again, it doesn't have to be a television series, like just the Netflix, be like, throw it on at night, an hour and a half, just understand what it is, like be like, holy crap, like the 500 is great, or just a series in general, like quickly about it, like its history is so long, and going back to what 1916 starting the 500, like it's incredible how deeply rooted the history is, and just nobody knows if you're not an IndyCar fan. So they're definitely missing the boat. They need to hammer that this year for sure.
100%.
No, they do. And it's been so interesting. Like my boyfriend didn't know anything about, I mean, he didn't know anything about racing when we first started dating. Now he like obviously knows like a lot, but it's been so interesting because like everybody I'm surrounded with knows about racing. But having him is kind of like this fresh, like, set of eyes and set of ears. And I'm just like, what do you think? Like, do you know the difference between F1 and IndyCar? He's like, what's an IndyCar? So it's like so interesting even just to hear like, and I'm like, what is interesting to you about racing and like that would make you watch it? He's like, well, I think like blah, blah, blah. And it's like just so interesting to have this kind of like fresh set of ears and eyes and like to see like what, like to somebody who doesn't know anything about racing at all, like what is intriguing about it? Like what is drawing you in? And like, I don't know. It's just interesting. I just wish that like they could appeal more to like, and then I'm telling him about like all this history about the, like IndyCar, and he's like, "What? Like, whoa! Like that's so cool!" And I'm like, "Yeah, like the bricks or some of the bricks are the original. The rest, blah blah blah. This is the speedway. The speedway has a golf course in the middle." And he's like, "What? Like that's huge!" I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And like it's crazy, and nobody knows about it because nobody.
I want to play that. I want to play that golf course so bad, but you know how much it is, man. I was looking.
Is it expensive?
Fees. Oh yeah, it's like $225 US to play that course.
Okay.
No way.
Oh yeah, it's stupid.
That's not that bad considering what it is.
Oh,
to
dude,
be able to play golf.
Come on, dude. I'll just sneak onto the course. I'll play with a headlamp.
Okay. Before I didn't even know that, but it's not all. Is it all 9 holes in the middle?
I don't know. I got no idea.
I don't know. So. You know, there's a dirt track in there too, right?
I've seen them do dirt car because when I did Nashville that year, they had it in between Indianapolis and Nashville, and I went and watched it. I didn't know that when they mean dirt car, they literally mean dirt sprays at you. See, I thought, I was like, I'll get as close as I'll get as close as I can. Like, why isn't anyone getting close? Yeah, you figure out really quickly why no one's getting close.
You know why?
You get dirt like that big getting thrown at you. Oh yeah.
Dude. So the first time I went to IMS, my dad knows somebody who works at the Speedway, and so he let him know I was coming, and I met up with him. He's a general counsel. His name is Jimmy McMillan. He's like so freaking cool, and he gave me like a ride. Like we jumped in one of the cars, like one of the Suburbans, and he gave me a ride around IMS and like showed me everything and like showed me like, took me all around like, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, not on the track, but like outside. He took me to the dirt track. We rode on the dirt track. He's like, and then he's like, this is where the snake pit goes. And he like showed me everything. And I was like, it was a crazy first experience. And it was crazy to see all of this stuff. And I'm like, we're in the middle of the racetrack right now. Like, this is crazy to think that. And I just want everybody to be there. Like, I want everybody to experience it. Like, it is. And watching those cars go down that front straightaway, like
nothing like it.
Because there's nothing like it. My family seats are in turn. They're up in the penthouse in turn 1, and just watching them come to, dude, oh my God, it was nothing like it. I've been to so many races, and there's nothing like that.
Even just like sporting events in general, like I've been to, live basketball games, hockey games, football games. Like when you go to the 500 and you're like in the arena and watching the cars go around the circle, there's nothing like it.
No, because I feel like people watch like, people are like, ooh, Long Beach, or St. Pete, like in the fun locations, what they think is fun. And it's not as exciting because the cars aren't going as fast. So they don't realize like how, when those cars are doing what they're meant to be doing, what they're made to be doing, going on those front straightaways, getting up to 240, like that's when it's insane. Because they look
Well-
like they're going so slow at St. Pete, but they're not.
Oh,
but they
yeah.
look like they are. You know what I
road
mean?
courses
Like,
are great. I love road courses, but watching them, I'd rather watch a road course from my couch. I'll watch every oval live.
100%. I will watch every oval live. 100%.
You guys are getting me so hyped up for the Indy 500 this year.
Are you gonna go this year?
I'm gonna try.
We're gonna try to get him out. Like I think that since I brought him to Toronto as his first race, he loved it,
Okay.
and like I'm like, dude, you think this is good? Like
Yeah.
you've
You have
seen,
no idea.
like you said, you see an oval live. Like honestly, if I were to, I don't even know if I can compare anything to it. Like there's nothing like it. Nothing.
Nothing.
In
There isn't.
It goes
Yeah.
by so quickly. Like I was explaining to my girlfriend yesterday, like how long an Indy 500 is. You're like, well, it's 500 miles. Do the math. You're like, it's usually about
Right.
3.5, maybe 4 hours. It goes by like
Yeah.
this. It's
so fast.
in a heartbeat. Like you're like, oh, it's 1 o'clock. It's starting. You're like, oh my God, it's 4 o'clock. The race is over. Like
Yeah.
you're just
Yeah.
so involved in it. And it's so crazy too. Like so many things happen throughout, like in Indy 500. Like this year I was like, Polo's gonna win the race.
Dude.
VK
yeah.
decided that it was not gonna happen. And then
Not
you
gonna
have-
happen that way. He said,
No, and then you had the finale, 1 lap to go, Ericsson versus Newgarden, which I
Crazy,
still
dude.
completely disagree with.
I
So
know.
2 laps
So
to go,
you know,
you
I
red
was
flag it, it's
I
done.
was talking to my boyfriend about that literally like yesterday. I was like, it was bullshit. This is
It's
what there was a red
bullshit.
flag. That never happens. Like he was like, whoa, okay, like it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, no,
Like,
it's not.
okay.
Like,
Well, this here, I'll get the photo. I actually just got this frame. This is why I'm so personalized about this. I'll be right back.
Spencer is gonna die on this hill of the controversy, and every time we
Oh
talk
my
about
God.
it, I can
Oh my
hear
God.
his blood pressure just skyrocket.
It's so funny.
This is why I'm so upset. It should have been 2. Should have been 2,
Oh.
and it was 1.
Get that.
It should have been 2, and it was 1. I was
You
so
can
upset.
See Spencer just off the side here, right next to
Oh
the
my
checkered flag.
God. Oh my God.
I actually photobombed that photo.
That is epic.
I
That's
know. I was so
epic.
upset. I was like, man, like I don't know. I think that was definitely a crazy way to end that race. But yeah, I think that's
I mean,
when
look at
racing
the edit.
specifically turns into entertainment rather than just racing itself.
Yeah, but
controversial
shocker.
opinion.
Like-
it was because of the TV show. I'm telling you, it was all conspiracy theory. It was done on
Really?
purpose. I have no
Dude.
idea. I'm just throwing it
Oh
out there.
no! Oh no! You mean the 100 days to Indy, dude? For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Telling
Yeah,
you.
100%.
It was a marketing
100%.
scheme. It was C4 was behind it.
bumped ratings. through the
C4 was
roof.
not behind it. C4 had nothing to do with it. C4 on the record. C4 had nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
It's not behind it. No.
yeah.
No. So yeah, it's interesting. I really hope that they kind of do a better job at promoting it for sure. I think that IndyCar, like you said, could do a much better way of promoting it. And I think that's just, like you said, it's a ball dropped. I don't know when it'll change, if it does change, but we'll see.
I sometimes wonder, I'm like, is it too, and nothing's ever too far gone, but I'm like, the longer it takes for us to turn it around, like we're in the marketing
I was gonna
department.
say we should just
Yeah,
hop on the
it's us.
panel.
Can
It's
we
us.
We
just
could figure it out in a weekend.
we got it. We got
We
it.
hands off.
I just feel like the longer that goes by, like the harder it's gonna be to like
Yeah,
turn it around. I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like, can we do it? I mean, we could do anything, but like,
we could do it.
We could do it. You
easily.
put
we
our
could do
3
it.
brains in the
We
room,
could
we
do
can do it.
it. We could do it.
We can do it.
Dude,
So we honestly we had a bunch of questions, but we've been just so natural chit chatting. So we won't.
I'm
get
sorry. If you want to ask,
No,
a
no,
question,
no,
I have
no.
nothing to
don't
do.
be. We
This was
honestly
actually-
we much rather prefer a natural conversation over like
Okay.
I just have questions in here just in case like we can't chit chat about
Get
anything, and
involved,
you've been great
It's
with
been no issue.
chit chatting.
Yeah.
So you've been absolutely no issue. We much
Oh my
rather
God,
talk
okay,
about
cool.
natural conversations than just us going back and forth. But we have a few random ones to give you here, some
Yeah.
super easy ones, just specifically about your own racing passions and whatnot. So favorite track that you've been to?
Laguna Seca, for
Yeah,
sure.
Laguna Seca,
I don't
for
know.
sure.
I love Coda too, but Laguna Seca,
Mm-hmm.
no, I love Laguna Seca. I love the corkscrew. It's so iconic. I love the history, and it's in my home state. So
You live in California and you also live in Texas. You flip flop
I'm
both?
yeah, it's weird. I'm from LA. I live back in LA now. But I was living in Texas for a few years. I went to school there. And so I'm back and forth a lot, but I live in LA.
Nice.
I would love to get out to Dakota. That's one I haven't gone to
Oh,
yet.
dude. I want to go to the F1 race there next year. I've only been there for actually USF Pro races and
Nice.
testing.
On to the next. One track you haven't been to that you'd like to go to, I guess.
I really would like to go. I mean, it's not a track, but it's a race, Toronto. I was supposed to go
Yeah.
last year, and yeah, dude, what happened? Oh, my flight got canceled, and then it was like crazy
No.
expensive to. It got canceled on Tuesday, and it was supposed to be on. It was like a whole fiasco, and
Yeah.
I just was like, forget it. So, yeah, but I would really like to go there.
Yeah, the streets are it's of course it's where we're from, so it's interesting to kind of
Yeah.
see the cars driving it because we're like we can barely drive it. I'm surprised they let the drivers
Right, you're
on.
like, I'm shocked. Yeah, yeah.
They were talking a little bit, not last year, but the year before, about bringing MotoGP, and I was like, you'd kill somebody.
That
There's
would
no
be
way.
No, you
Yeah, there's
legitimately
no
kill
way.
somebody.
The
There's no
potholes
chance.
alone would take out like 6 people.
Oh yeah, no
Like,
doubt.
Dude.
It's a
Dude,
crazy
like
circuit.
in Vegas,
Oh
the
yeah,
Vegas pothole.
yeah, the Vegas pothole.
That was a
What
nightmare.
a fiasco, hey?
What a fiasco.
Crazy. I wonder
turned
who
it
was
around,
responsible
though.
for that. Yeah, it
They
was an
turned
awesome
it when
event.
that
Great
happened,
race.
though. Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised because I was like, after seeing how Miami was the first year and like talking to people who were there, I was like, oh god, is this like
Yeah.
good? Because I almost went to Vegas. I was like, because it's right there, it's not far.
Yeah,
And I was like,
Yeah.
should we go? I don't know. I had been there 2 weekends in a row previously for work, so it would have been my third weekend in a row in Vegas.
That's
But
a
I was like,
lot.
it's a lot. But I was like, what? I don't know. I don't drink, so I was like, kind of like, I wasn't, I could have done it. Like there wasn't really going to be any partying, but I was like, just seeing how Miami went the first year, I was like, I'm going to pass just in case there's any
Yeah.
kinks
Yeah.
they need to work out. And I'm like, damn it. Like literally everyone was there.
Yeah.
Should have gone.
You should have gone 2 weekends in a row and still in then F1. That's a lot. That's
Yeah.
especially not knowing how the event would have gone, like knowing it
Right.
it did as well
That's
as it
the
did.
thing. Yeah. If I had
Yeah.
known it was like, like well-oiled machine, it was going to be seamless, I would have been there for sure. But I had no idea.
Next year,
Yeah.
it's going to be
Next
like
year.
lights out. Like
Insane.
it puts Miami on the chopping block for me. Like we can
Honestly,
just
yeah,
get rid of
I'm
it
kind of surprised
altogether.
they still do Miami. Yeah. Oh, I would also like to go to would love to go to Singapore one day.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's my favorite track
Yeah.
that I haven't
really
been
wanna
to.
go there.
McGregor always says I always use Singapore as like a diagram to show what other tracks look like, and McGregor's like, it does
Yeah.
not look like that track at all.
You're
I'm
like,
"No, it
so
does."
compared to Singapore, you're like, no.
Yeah.
He was trying to pitch me
Yeah.
on Monza and Singapore being the same. And somehow he's like, if you just
It
squint,
works.
cover your eye,
You're
and then
like, dude, no, yeah.
I'm like,
yeah,
dude,
put
there,
my eyes,
show me a
sure.
90-degree corner on Monza and
Dude.
we'll be good. That's it.
It works.
Right.
It's not happening.
It was-
You're so wrong.
I got two more. Favorite C4 drink flavor, even though they're all good.
Favorite is I have one right here. Oh, right here. Here, I have a case right here. Strawberry guava.
Strawberry
Dude,
guava's good.
It's so good. It's my favorite.
so good.
I love
It's
how
my
you just have
favorite.
that
Do they?
at the
Oh,
ready.
I have.
Do they sell them in
Do they-
Canada? No, Jordan.
Yeah.
They don't sell them in Canada, and I'm so upset. It's horrible. I go
Let
through
me see if I
withdrawals.
can get you some. Oh, that's.
I
bad.
would-
Let me see if I can get you some.
Jordan, I would love nothing more than that. I get withdrawals.
Okay.
Like literally, my girlfriend has to
That's
calm
rough.
me down. It's terrible.
Dude, I don't
because-
know. I don't know what I would do if I couldn't have it. Like I don't. That's rough. That's
And I
rough.
don't even like energy drinks. It's just
Yeah.
C4. It's the only ones I legitimately
See,
like.
because I don't like energy drinks either, but these ones, the Smart Energy is I don't really drink the yellow cans, but I like the Smart Energy.
Those
It's just,
ones.
it's so smooth. Like, and I mean it when I say like it is so smooth. Like there is no crash. I used to be a Red Bull girl, and then
There's
I
no
started working for C4. So I started drinking C4, and I was like, oh my god, holy shit, this stuff is good. So yeah,
I'm telling you,
I'm a
if you're
fan.
playing around a golf and you have a C4, I've never been that dialed in my life.
Even
There's a different
yeah.
type of like tunnel vision you get when you're doing
it's
it.
because it has cognizant in it, which is like
Oh.
it's a supplement. It's cognizant citicoline. It's actually like a brain supplement. It's a nootropic that like helps with focus and memory and like recall. And when I first saw that, I was like, oh, okay. Like I don't know
Maybe.
if I'll be able to taste a difference or like notice a difference. Dude, 100%.
100%.
And that's what like I get, like I'll sit down to work and I'm like, oh my god, it's been 4 hours and I'm done.
Yeah.
I have nothing to do for the next 3 weeks. Like wow.
Yeah. Shout out
even
C4.
even when we were doing the
Yeah.
podcast, Spencer gave me like a little
The
one that you
shakes
add to your
ones.
water, and it was the
Oh
most like,
yeah.
dialed in that
Oh,
I've
they're
ever been on the
fantastic.
podcast.
They're
Where did you get
fantastic.
those? Where'd you get the
Some
six-pack?
rep sent them to Darren, and I don't know who it was, but
Oh my
I
God.
drank a lot of it. I'm telling, I drank a lot of it.
Who is sending in the Darren that's not me? That's what I want
A
to know.
lot. Like, Jordan, I'm talking like
Really?
they sent
Controversy?
they sent 4 cases, and then they sent like maybe 4 or 5 of the packets, maybe less than that, maybe 2 or 3. It was a lot. Like it took me about 9 months to get through it all.
When did they send this? Because I'm the one who sends everything out.
They sent that.
You're
They
getting
sent
someone in
they
trouble here.
sent that before I met
No.
you. Yeah, someone's
Someone's losing
getting
the job.
fired. No,
No,
it's
no one's getting
no,
fired.
no.
I'm surprised you did it. I'm just like, who would have done that? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know
No.
anybody else at my job knew Darren.
I think it would have been it probably December, probably about a year ago, probably maybe
Interesting.
January of before I met you. So probably
Okay.
January or March of this year,
Okay.
close to it.
Huh.
I don't know who's
I'll
doing
work
it,
on
but
getting you some more. Someone's doing.
oh,
I'm gonna find out.
please, we would love, honestly, we would love nothing
Yeah.
more because it's the only one that we like, and they don't supply it here. It's so heartbreaking.
That's so
Bring
weird. I
C4 to
wonder
Canada.
why.
And we have
I'll
the
do everything I
pre-workout.
can.
Yeah, we have the
Oh,
pre-workout.
you just
but
don't have the cans.
Yeah.
no cans,
Oh.
canless. I think they
Okay.
might have the yellow ones.
Canless.
I don't know. They definitely don't have the
Yeah,
Smart Energy.
It's the yellow.
Okay.
Yeah, not the Smart Energy.
I know I sent some to Max, so let me see if I can get some to you too for the
Oh,
podcast.
that'd be awesome. We would
Sweet.
greatly appreciate it. Well, Jordan, honestly, we don't have too much more.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you coming on and chit-chatting.
Dude, yeah. Oh my God, this was so fun. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
When you asked me, I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, my first podcast.
We would love to have you on
Yeah.
again because honestly, we had so much. And again, we don't want to take too much of your time up. But yeah, we had so much to talk about, and we got into so much. But I know that, like you said, your racing history with your family goes really deep, and you love the passion of racing. So we'll have you on anytime. You can definitely be a 2-parter for sure, maybe even a 3.
Amazing.
Reoccurring
okay.
weekly
Yeah.
guest.
Yeah, awesome.
I love that. Yeah.
Okay, Jordan.
Whenever you guys need me on, I'll be here. It's an honor and a
Awesome.
privilege. So thank you.
Oh, you're the
Thank
best.
you.
Thank you, Jordan. I really appreciate it.
Of course. I'll talk to you guys later.
All
Okay,
right, take
thank you,
care.
Jordan. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.